I'm back. Well, oh my God, what's this? Let's shake you to the core. Well, hey, it wasn't a million years ago we were looking at the Headrush Prime, and that was a much bigger unit than this one. That's one of the first things, and I always remember the review. If you haven't seen it, look down in the text below, because I'll have a link to the Headrush Prime review, so you can do a bit of comparison of what these two are like. Yeah, it's very interesting. And the point is, on the Headrush Prime, I had one or two problems right from the off. And the problem with that, of course, is that, well, to tell you the truth, for the Headrush Prime that I had, it was never fixed for the wireless. It just didn't work. It's the nicest way I can put it. But it does seem like things have changed. And I can tell you, I've already been through this unit quite a lot. And when I connected this to the very same, very same wireless network, which this unit really likes to be on, it connected first go. First go, no ifs, no buts, no R's, no network change, no nothing. So was Tony right in the first place? Well, I think I was. So heed that about the, the Prime. It might have been fixed by these days, but who knows? Anyway, less about the Prime. Let's get on with this one. Well, I'm not actually going to unbox it. I've got the box down there. I've had everything out and been messing around with it for a bit. And I think it gets a bit boring sometimes. It's all about the gear, isn't it? Well, on the face of it, this one looks very, very impressive. It's well built. But then again, it's not that cheap a device. I don't know what it is in America or in Australia or in any of those places, but I can tell you that here in the UK, I mean, I paid about £750 for it, so it's not that cheap, is it? Bearing in mind that last week we were looking at the new X Trident. Yeah, that's an NME5, and that device was about £350. Well, this is, well, it's over double. So does it justify the difference? And that's something we're going to be looking at very, very carefully in this review. Oh, and by the way, just before I forget, I actually bought this one. So, like all my reviews, they are all genuine reviews. But, you get them guys that say, oh, yeah, we didn't buy it and all that rubbish. But actually, the reviews I make are all genuine. So what I'm going to do first is get down and take a quick look at the device, maybe have a look inside quickly, not spending long on it, and you can always skip past that if you really don't like to see the insides, although on any device of these types, I can't understand why somebody wouldn't want to know what they were buying. Okay, well, I've removed the screws out of the back of the device. By the way, this case is pressed steel, just rather like the ones that are generally out there. None of the cast stuff like I saw on the new X Trident recently. This is what you get typically, pressed steel cases. Nothing wrong with that, but do bear it in mind that it's cheaper. Anyway, let's whip the lid off, and for the very first time you'll probably see something that you haven't before. And there you have it. Okay, well, here it is inside the Headrush Core. And you won't be disappointed with what's inside this unit, I don't think. Let's take a real quick overview. If you look over here, this is called a carrier board, it says. Strangely enough, that's dated probably the 5th of November 2021, which is some while back. Yeah, bearing in mind we're in, basically October 2023. So is it a new board or isn't it? Well, we'll get to see that later, and maybe I'll even flip up the odd shot of the Headrush Prime and what was inside that. Who knows? We'll get there. So that's the main processor board, if you really want to know the truth, and there's the underside of the processor from what I can see. Along the back here, you've got this other board here, and this just says RPPCB, but in my opinion, that's basically an I/O board, and it's got all the connectors just over the back, just behind this back plate. And then below that, we've got this other board. This says top PCB, which of course it's at the bottom on the one that we're looking at. I know it sounds crazy, but that's life. That's the way it is. The fact is that on the other side of that, you've got all the pedals and the display and the stuff like that. So generally speaking, I think, importantly, the bits that matter is this board here and this board here, although the other does matter. I mean, what I'm really saying is these are the business end of where you'll be involved, along with those switches that are down at the bottom there. And what I like about the switches straight off is they are run-of-the-mill switches that you could almost buy anywhere, which is really, that's a good thing, that is. Equally, it's a good thing that this back board here, this I/O board, is a separate little board. I don't know whether you'd be able to ever buy these replacement boards from Headrush, but, well, you should be able to really, shouldn't you? Anyway, let's look a bit closer. Well, here we are. This is the other side of the carrier board that was sitting in there. Nothing's been disconnected or anything like that. I just wanted to give you a bit of a view of what's going on inside the other side of the board. You've got this huge heatsink that I dare say is sitting there right on the top of a main processor or processors. Who knows? But we're going to have a look anyway. So there it is. Really nicely made, I guess. And that's just life, isn't it? But do note that down the bottom here, you've got a little battery. And at some stage, that battery's going to need to be changed. It won't last forever. And it also warns you down here about danger of explosion. So don't get things wrong, will you? Okay, well, we're going to take a quick overall view of this I/O board. And in fact, the I/O board is, well, it's better than you think, really. There's a lot of stuff in this board. The first things to maybe not like so much as the fact that all these are plastic across the back here. As you can see in the various pictures that I've put on screen now, they're all sort of plasticky, and including the bits that stick out the back of the unit, they're all plastic. And even the little nuts that they use, you can see them, are plastic. So it's all plastic stuff, and it's all what it is. I suppose the board's actually mounted in though with screws as well, which is a good thing. But you've got a lot of small chips on this board, and I'm just going to move the board around a bit so you can get a good view of what's going on. Well, I do hope you do get a good shot of this board. It's a very high quality board, no doubt about that, and it's got 1, 2, 3, 4 chips on there at least, and they're probably related to the ADC and the DAC and that sort of stuff. But there's also further down that end, there's also a power chip, if you will, a rectifier type of thing. But you can also notice that there's some relays. Well, they look like relays to me, them do. Yeah. And down this end, you've got a couple of electrolytics. Nice board, very well made. As I said, you've got these plastic bits at the top, but you can't have everything, can you? And if we move the board along a little bit further down here, you can see the sort of regulators and things like that. But there are those chips. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's the mother. And they're the little associated ones. Anyway, that's enough of that. I just wanted to show you the quality of the board, which is quite good. There's no getting away from that. And it should be interesting to look further, really. Okay, the last thing I'm going to draw your attention to is that little chip that's down there. There's a little separate board there, but don't know what that's doing. It's connecting a load of stuff. But this little chip here, that's an ARM1. It's an STM32F401 RBT6. So there Maybe more about it later or not. I'm not sure entirely what that's doing, but it could be sort of screen related or anything else for that matter. But the fact is, it is an ARM chip and it is in there. What we're going to do now is just cover a few of those chips that are in there. Okay, well the first chip in the line is the sort of memory chips, and those are HSTQ 4G83, basically the memory chips. And not a lot to say about them. 4 gig DDR3 SD RAM, as you'll see on the screen, and those were in the main processor board. I think there was 3 or 4 of them, but I'm not really counting. They are what they are, and they're nearly on every board that I look at, well, or something very similar. Next one along, as you can see on the screen, and this one's an active semi. It's an ACT8846, and it's a highly efficient active PMU or power management chip. Yeah, very necessary and included in the unit. While moving further along, you hit the motherload, the main processor, and you can see it there. It's a Rockchip 3288, an RK3288. Now what's special about that? Well, I don't really know. What I would say to you, let's have a quick look at what's in the Headrush Prime. I think I've got a picture of one of them. Well, the Headrush Prime is now up there, the main processor, and now the Headrush Core's up there. Yeah, did you see a difference? Well, let's put them side by side. Yeah. If there is a difference, there is, and if there isn't, well, what a bargain. That's not quite as simple as that. But the chip in this one, in the Headrush Core, is an RK3288, and I'll read a few little lines. It's low-powered, high-performance processor for mobile phones, personal mobile internet devices, and other digital multimedia applications, as this one is, and integrates quad-core Cortex A17 with separately Neon coprocessor, whatever that is. Maybe it lights up in the dark. Many embedded powerful hardware engines provide optimized performance for high-end applications, and this RK3288 supports almost full format. It includes H.265 decoder, 2160p at 60 fps, H.264, so it does a lot of things to do with video, among other things. It's an embedded 3D GPU, makes the RK3288 completely compatible with OpenGL and that sort of thing, special 2D hardware engine with MMU and maximised display performance. Talks a lot about displays, doesn't it? The RK3288 also has a high performance dual channel external memory interface for DDR3, which we saw, yeah. And it's capable of sustaining demanding memory bandwidth and provides a complete set of peripheral interface to support very flexible applications. Well, you could go on and on. The features listed below, it's page after page, quad-core ARM Cortex A17 MP core processor, high performance, low power, cached application processor. Full implementation of the ARM architecture V7A instruction set, ARM Neon Advanced SIMD, support for accelerated media, superscalar variable length, out of order pipeline and dynamic branch prediction, 8-stage pipeline. I could go on, I don't want to bore you with it too much, except that now you know what the processor is. There are lots of ancillary chips in there, like the 4580 chips that are kicking around. I won't bore you with them, they're just in there, and I just wanted to mention them. Now, I did also take a look at that I/O board, which was far more than you might think it was. It wasn't just some old I/O board, it had quite a lot of things on it. As you can see on the picture on the screen now, I mean, that's quite an integrated, important board, and it's very well made, I have to say that. But if you look at the plastic I/O, that always bothers me a little bit. You know, on the new X Trident, they were metal connectors on the back, and on this one, which is over twice the price, well, they're plastic. Now, of course, the next chip up is an important one. It's an analog to digital converter, and in this case, it's a high-performance 24-bit, as you can see on the screen there. It's 216 kilohertz sampling, 4-channel audio A to D converter. Yeah, it's got lots of applications including digital recorders, mixing desks, digital audio effects, processors, broadcast studio equipment, surround sound encoders, high-end AV receivers, and so much more. I mean, that's an involved chip. Well, it seems to be. It comes from Texas Instruments and it's a TI design. The PCM 4204 is a high-performance 4-channel analog to digital converter designed for professional and broadcast audio applications. That's a good chip. Well, there it is. Say no more. Okay, another important chip is the high-performance 24-bit kilohertz sampling 4-channel audio digital to analog converter. And that chip, when I get there, is a PCM 4104, again from Texas Instruments. It's got loads of features, rather like that other chip that we saw on the A to D. It's probably the partner chip, and that's a great thing. A few of the specs, let me not go into depths because you can go and find these yourself. 4 high-performance multi-level Delta Sigma digital to analog converters, differential voltage outputs, full scale output, differential 6.15 volts peak to peak, supports sampling frequencies up to 216 kilohertz. That's pretty cool. Typical dynamic performance, 24-bit data, dynamic range, A weight is 118 dB, and the THD, total harmonic distortion, plus N is minus 100 dB. Linear phase 8 times oversampling digital interpolation filter. Digital de-emphasis filters for 32 kHz, 44.1 and 48 kHz sampling rates. On it goes. There's loads of information about that chip. It's a well-known chip, PCM 4104 D2A. I also noticed in there, just as an aside, there were actually at least 3 relays, and the ones that I saw here were HFD3/3, 2 amp, 30 volts DC. Yeah, what can I say? Yeah, and it says further there, half amp, 125 volts AC. Well, that's probably the switching voltage and things like that, but they're in there, make no mistake. Okay, there's an ARM chip in there as well, and that's an ARM STM32F401 processor. ARM chips were developed originally in the UK by, Herman Hauser and I think it was Kid Curry. No, it wasn't Kid Curry, but Mr. Curry we'll call him. Yeah, and there they were, developing ARM chips back in the day. Inside this unit, this one is an STM32F401, as I've said. It's a microcontroller, part of the STM32 dynamic efficiency device range. So there, these devices offer the best balance of dynamic power consumption in run mode and processing performance while integrating a high number of added value features in packages as small as 3 × 3 millimeters, which is really small. The MCUs deliver the performance of Cortex M4 core and floating point unit, running at 84 MHz on this one, while achieving outstanding low power consumption values in run and stop modes. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's very good. Power efficiency is amazing, and the integration portfolio, it says here, provides from 128 to 512K of flash, 96K of SRAM. The available packages range from 49 to 100 pins. Well, you can see that one on the screen. It's over there now. It's all very nice. 3 UARTs running up to 10.5 megabits. 4 times SPI running up to 42 megabits. 3 times, what are that? That looks like FC. 1 SDIO, 1 USB 2 OTG full speed, 2 times duplex, FS up to 32-bit 192 kHz, 12-bit A to DC, 12-bit ADC reaching 2.4 MSPS, and 10 timers for different features in the units. Well, that's yet another processor, so in a roundabout way you could say it's a dual processor unit. Now I know that little section could be boring to some people, but if you didn't like it, well, that's great. You should have skipped across to this point where we go and take a look at the top and the back, the I/O at the back and the controls on the top. And then we'll be moving along to the more interesting stuff, I suppose, for some people, not for others. Everything about the unit, and then you'll be able to hear it. It's an interesting device. It's not a cheap device. It's in the UK, by the way. It's about street price. I think I paid about £750 for this thing. So it's not something they're giving away. And I question that aspect, really, because if you look at the Headrush Prime, it was not that much, well, it was a little bit dearer, but first of all, it didn't always work for me. Well, it never worked for me on some of it. But secondly, the difference between the price, personally, I'd be going down this route, because when you get these other devices, they've got these great massive real estate, you don't always want them, and certainly in a studio like this, it isn't something I'd be really very keen on. Yeah, so this one, just off the side, offers different solutions, in my opinion. And anyway, we're going to talk a bit more about this as we move forward. Okay, the power supply is here, and this is like, almost like a laptop type of power supply. And it's typical of what you find out there today. It's a switch mode device, so you could plug it in almost any country. And yeah, it says on the back here, it's a 12 volt, 3 amp device, and it's, positive center. Now the thing about it, I'd have read that from here, but it's nigh on impossible to read. It's getting that way these days. I can read the approvals and the rest, which is the most important aspect of any power supply, I might tell you. But there it is on the back of the unit. We'll cover that more, and the power supply is a definite plus. This is a good unit. Well, here it is, and yeah, very nice it is too. It's even got an on and off switch at the back, which I find quite amazing these days. Here we go. This is what you get when you fire her up. Yeah, all good. I've already had this one on and running and done all sorts of things through it. So this is version 3.1.1 firmware, and I haven't tried to change anything, but because Headrush Core connected directly to my network and then went off over the internet, it actually went over the internet and updated everything. It was quite phenomenal, I will say that. It was such a difference between the Headrush Prime and the Headrush Core that this one is. This was quite incredible to watch. Anyway, there it is. That's how it's presented to you. The lights that you see flashing across the bottom in reality are not flashing across the bottom, they're static. And you've got this one on and that one on, and anything else is just, well, off the camera. It's a camera type of problem. So what I want to do first of all is just go closer. I'll sort of poke around a bit for you now. Okay, well, taking a look at the basic top controls, you can see that, yeah, it's a bit sparse on the top of here, isn't it, compared to some of the devices that we've had, where they have lots of controls. And if you don't have many top controls and that sort of thing, well, it just makes things a little bit harder for some people, and others will love it. Well, let's run through the basic layout. This screen, this is a cracking screen, by the way. I'm not sure of the size of that. Let's just go and check that. It's basically a 7-inch display, or 18 centimeters across, as you saw, which makes this a bit of a chunky beast, which is good. And as you can see, that thing's in full colour. We could adjust the brightness and things like that at some other stage, but I'm not worried about that for now. If you're moving over here, you've got a push to enter button. This is an encoder, and you turn the encoder to scroll through the menu options or adjust the parameter values of the selected field in the display. Push the encoder to confirm your selection. So it's one of them type. You've got the buttons across the bottom, which is so common these days. I mean, it's everything, isn't it? And basically, you press these to activate or deactivate the assign block or scene. Yeah, so obvious. Auto load the assigned rig. So we've got bank A, B, we've got different modes, we've got hands-free, we've got a looper, tuner or torque. Oh yeah, and one of the things about this thing is it's got audio, an audio interface for vocals built right in it, and that's very similar to the Prime. I thought it was unusual on the Prime, but it's just as unusual on this one. And of course, these lights across here indicate what's on and what isn't on. I mean, it's so obvious. And I know that, you know, you can't really see it well on the camera, you know, with these three in the middle flashing. But if you do look carefully, these are not as bright as those two end ones. And the two end ones are the ones that are turned on. Now, scarily, we've only got a couple of things left on here. We've got a phones knob for your headphones, volume, and the main volume, really for the output. Yeah, there it is. Set it where you like and off you go. So I think rather than getting involved in all these things up here right now, I think we'll go and have a look at the I/O, because the I/O is a very important aspect of this this device, and I think anybody who says it isn't would be, well, silly. Okay, well, that's a quick shot of the back of the Headrush Core. You can see there's absolutely loads and loads of stuff on there, including proper size MIDI ports, which I'll always raise the point about. But there's a lot of other stuff, and what I want to do is, I think we'll zoom in close at little sections and go from that end to this end. Okay, well, here we are in no very specific order, except that I'm running across the back of the board. Yeah, this first one here, this is for the microphone, and you can stuff your microphone in there for the vocals. Well, I suppose it doesn't have to be vocals, it could be anything, couldn't it? But minimum and maximum, there's its adjustment. That's how it all goes on, all nice and simple. Yeah, you can view the current level of the microphone by double tapping the input block to make sure the level isn't low or it's clipping or things like that. Now on that input you have got a 48 volt option, which is choosable basically in the options basically. Yeah, global settings. Yeah, so very useful. This is basically an XLR or 1/4 inch dual connector. You've seen them before. You've got a guitar input here, pretty obvious. Standard quarter cable or 6.3mm. This is an interesting one. This is like a controllable switch, if you will. Bit like they had on the old Mesa Boogies, where you had the various 1/4 inch jacks, where you could run one outer ear into one of them and switch it on or off. So it's a sort of control, and it's done from within the unit here. This one, by the way, uses short to sleeve. That's the type of connection that you want to be using, and other ones will give you trouble. Now on the expression pedal, the external expression pedal doesn't come with it, by the way. That's where you put that in, and you can set it up in here to control whatever you want. But interestingly, a lot of these expression pedals that you buy, particularly the cheap ones, don't have a switch, a bit like a Y, you know. But you can get them with a toe switch, what it says there, toe switch. And you could modify one or two of the other ones to add a toe switch, so you can switch it on and off and things like that, or switch it from one mode to another. For example, I tend to do a lot of that in the Helix rack. By the way, these connections are standard quarter connections, they're nothing special. You've got a pretty standard FX send and return. Now you can send that off through, depending on your method of cables, you could use that in a number of ways, but again, it's pretty standard. You've got a phones output, but sadly it's one of them 1/8 of an inch things. I suppose you can get a converter, but snap or armour, yeah, they always seem to be going down this route with a lot of devices these days. I'm not really for them. Nah, not the best of things. Now on the outputs, we've got the standard, once again, 1/4 inch or 6.3mm left and right. You can see them. Left is mono. And we've also got the XLRs, which is nice. We've got left mono again and right. And, you know, very useful having them in different ways like that. There's a better shot of the XLR outputs. Sorry about that. Moving along anyway, we've got MIDI in and MIDI out and through. I'm not going to explain what they are. Everybody seems to know what they are these days, but it's good to see that they're full-sized. I thought that was, yeah, very, very, very useful indeed. Now looking along a bit further, we've got this USB B-type port. You can see it there. And that's used to connect this rig to your PC so you can back up and import and do all the sort of things that you might want to do, because it is a sort of software related device, isn't it? No question about that. Now this is an interesting one, this USB-A, because you can put a flash drive on that and you can use it to store, well, various bits of information. You might even store backing tracks, who knows? I'm not sure if you can do it from there. I haven't tried yet. But yeah, very useful. And what more can I say about it except that they're both there, two of them. And yeah, you can use this one as well for external MIDI control through USB, which could be useful again. Now on this particular preset, I'll call them that, we come in here, we go down here, down across to this one, down across here, and out down there. But you can actually change the routing or the signal chain, if you will. And you can do that with this little controller here. So we press that down. It's currently, I think, this one. But you can go down. Let's choose another one. You can see it sort of spreads things out a bit. It's all quite clever, really. And it's simple. This is if you've got two separate paths, if you will. And on it goes. Put it back as it was. We've got a little section here that looks after the tails. These are basically the sort of fade outs after you've struck a note and it just goes through the reverb or the delay or whatever. You know, you can have them turned on or off, can't you? And that's why you do it. You've got another one here for a microphone with its various settings. I'm not going to do anything with that for now. We'll leave it. Now it's relatively easy to change the output side of things. All you need to do is double tap on that. And you can go across into these different areas. We have a number of them set up. I'm not going to mess with them for now, but there they are. We can change them if we need to. Now if you want to look at the actual pedals, all you really need to do is to sort of double tap them. And you can come into here and make adjustments for anything you fancy. Yeah, and that applies really to any one of the pedals, which is quite nice in its own little way. And just while we're at it, if you look at these blocks here, these blocks represent the 5 pedals that are down below, the ones you press the buttons on. Yeah, so number 1 is previous rig, the next one's channel clean, the next one's vibe clean, the next one's lead, which is full, and then number 5 will take you to the next rig, which is all very clever. And you can change them for whatever you want, really, I guess. Once again, you can take a lot of this stuff and move it around. Very common practice. Just hold it and flip it around, just like so, or just put it back if you like. Doesn't really matter. It's all pretty simple. And it's just as easy to remove one of these. You can just drag it off screen and it's gone. How easy is that? Well, that's nearly the end of this little section. I mean, it's pretty interesting stuff, but it's simple to do with these touch controls. And this one works a lot better than some of the other Headrush stuff I've looked at least. And nice big screen, nice and bright, does all the stuff. What more can you say? Yeah, let's go back. Well, there you go. It's all so good so far, isn't it? Yeah. It's not a bad looking device like I keep saying, you know. It's a bit heavy. I think it's about 3.8 pounds. Oh, let me just check. What is the weight of this darn thing? 3.8 kilograms, not pounds. It's 8.37 pounds in weight. So it's not the lightest of pedals to be humping around, but I guess it's like everything else. It depends what you want. If it could save you a guitar amp and cab, if you're pushing this off into other places, well, that could work for some people. It wouldn't work for me. I'm not entirely convinced still about the reality of a real tube amp tone being in there, or the feel indeed, which is something that I haven't found a single device yet that has the same feel as a real amp. And I think that's important. A lot of guitarists also think it's important. So don't just assume, or, if you're a guy that loves this stuff, don't just assume that, the tube amps are gone, man. I don't think they are. Anyway, well, what are you going to do next? So what you need to do is you need to get down there now, right? Don't mess me about. Go down there and subscribe, right? Subscribe. Do the thumbs up thing, because that matters apparently too. And tick all for notifications. You won't get millions off me, but you'll get a few. That's about as good as I could say. So don't forget to do that, will you? My channel always needs a bit of a boost. You've got the guys that don't want me showing this stuff, remember? And the guys that do want me showing it. And the guys that like the stuff and want to see inside. If I wasn't around, what would you be doing? So don't forget, get that subscription going. If you want to see any more about the screen and the controls and things like that, go and take a look at the Headrush Prime review that I did, because I do go into a lot of depth of the using of this stuff and, how easy or how hard it is to use and stuff like that. But I do also show you the insides of the Headrush Prime. And I'm just going to put a picture on the screen now and just talk for a few seconds or a few minutes, no, not for long, about the Headrush Prime and this one. And you'll notice on that image that's on the screen that if you've been watching so far, you can find that the processor board is basically the same processor board in that unit that it is in this unit, the core. So that sort of negates a lot of things, which we'll come back to in a little bit. But secondly, you've got that other I/O board in the Headrush Prime, which you can see still on screen right now. And I can tell you now it's the same board, give or take. It looks pretty much the same board as that's in this core. So that leaves you with a bit of a dilemma. You're right, it is a dilemma, because first things first, this one is about approximately, sort of street price today, but it change in the future, approximately £750, give or take. And the Headrush Prime is about £1,000, give or take. So for your 20 or 25% difference, you're getting that whole great big assembly of the Prime. But to be honest, there's probably some differences, but I didn't see that many for the 250 quid, except that this one worked and the Prime didn't. It's a little bit concerning, is that, because, well, you're getting the same thing, and this one's a bit smaller, so it's probably better suited for being on a stage than that great big Prime that we looked at before. So that's just a consideration. I want to mention a few other things that I haven't been through, which this unit has. I'm not getting in the greatest of depths, because I've already done it on the Prime. So if you really want the greatest of depths, go to the Prime for the I/O and the rest. But let's go back to this one. Inside this one, as indeed in the Prime, are the IRs, the rigs, the IRs. Yeah. In fact, there's 350 in this unit. I haven't been back to check what's in the Prime, because I haven't. But there's 350 in this one. And you've got the ChopTones. Now that name might be familiar, because they're the same ones basically as in the other unit. But they're also the same ones, these ChopTones, are the same ones as used in lots of other brands as well. And you might be surprised how many brands use ChopTones IRs and bits and pieces. They must get a deal on them. That's what I would say. But that raises a question about, well, if they're all using the same things, don't they sound the same? Yeah. Have a think about that and put your answers down in the text, because I'd like to hear the answers to that. Now in this unit you've also got an amp cloner. So you can look at the amps that are around in this place. There's about 20 altogether. And you could go and clone them, or copy them, for want of a better word, and make them yours. But would they really be yours? Would they really be as good as the amp that sits at the side of you? I think not. And I think not for everyone that I've tried to date. Yeah. So have a think about that when you're on the amp cloner. Again, I haven't particularly gone into depths with it because it's in the other review. It's really a sort of so similar. Funny thing about that cloner, like a lot of them these days, it doesn't just clone the amp if you don't want it to just clone the amp. It can clone the speakers, it can clone the fuzzies or the floor pedals or the whatever it is, the overdrives, the this, the that, and can capture them as well. Well, it claims. Well, maybe it can or maybe it can't. They say it can. So, yeah, well, I need bonuses, right? Another feature that I haven't mentioned to date. Yeah, Headrush has got a cloud. What's a cloud? What, you've got your head in the cloud? No, that's all. No, the cloud is where they've got this place where you can store things. So you can create stuff on here and store it all in the cloud. So wherever you've got internet access, which could be everywhere or nowhere, then you can go and download whatever it is you want to download that you've stored. That makes sense. And of course, if it's all up in the cloud, yeah, you can share that with other people. So I believe. I'm not checking it myself, but that's what they say. I don't like Apple much, except that it does help to block out all that tracking and other stuff that, well, I don't really like people doing, especially without my permission. So that's why I've got an Apple, the only reason. In any case, along with my super duper phone, I've actually got a set of headphones. Yeah, these look pretty good. Bayer DT880 Pros. These work really nice. I'm just going to leave them open like that at the side of the table because I just want to do something to show you. Okay, here we go. Bit of old music. I'll call it that for now. But I've actually got Santana here. Carlos Santana and Buddy Miles. And if you've never heard this album, go and have a listen to a little 2.5 minute track called Lava and realise why Santana was what he was. Absolutely awesome. And I've got this phone now connected to that. All nice and easy, all nice and simple. Imagine we're at the gig or you're just practicing or whatever it is you're doing, it doesn't really matter. And if I can get audio coming out, let's make sure it's turned on. Yeah, cans are turned on. So let's play it. Does it work? Now, I don't want to do that too long because, well, and if there's no audio, they came and got me and I'll have to cut that out. But if they didn't come and get me, there's the streaming coming into the unit. And of course you can route everything out to wherever you want, even to a PA. So you could play to this stuff or anything else. And yeah, it works perfect. First go. Yeah, which is not surprising on this particular Headrush Core. It might have been surprising on the Headrush Prime. And you can see on screen right now, at the bottom of that player, you can see the Headrush Core actually locked in with its Bluetooth logo, which means it's connecting and it's all good. Yeah, the other thing is that that little stick that you can put in there, you can store, you know, music that you want to play back to or practice to or whatever. It could be backing tracks or anything else. It could be actual tracks. It could be one of these, types that does a bit of voice, because it can have a voice, can't it? Yeah. So if you're a karaoke type, I don't know. I'm looking at it from a guitarist point, but who knows? Another thing I didn't actually go into great depths with specification was the looper. And I do show it on the other one, if I remember. But you can only have a sort of 5-minute loop, or piece, if you will. But that's the bad news part of it. But there is a good news part of it, because you can have actually up to 20 overdubs or 20 overlays onto that 5-minute track. So you could create a 5-minute track. You won't be creating any longer. There's another thing I didn't actually mention when we were running across the back here, and I should have mentioned it because I think it actually is important. At the back here we've got two outs for the 1/4 inch, left and a right, and then we've got these XLRs, there's 2 of them as well, which really they're duplicating the 2 1/4 inch, the left and a right. Left is mono on both of them, or all of them. Well, that's all well and good, but with this system you're able to take an output and put it through the 1/4 inches and take up a different output and put it through the XLRs. So you could run the XLRs to something with a particular output and the 2 1/4 inches to something else with a particular output. Or you could have them all the same, just depends what you want. But it is configurable. Okay, well, I think you can agree we've talked about absolutely loads of stuff on here, and I could harp on longer, but I don't really want to. I'm just getting you the flavour of this Core in comparison to the Prime. Of course, on the Core there's no pedal. On the Prime there is. You've got more knobs on the Prime, less knobs on the Core. I don't think you really need them if you want the truth. They just come across to me as being rather, well, no real point. You can do most stuff on the screen, and the screen on this one, this 7-inch screen, really is a good screen. In fact, it's as good as any I've found. It says a lot, really. I've looked at a lot of gear over the years. Now, with your connectivity, when you come to plug this in to something else, well, you can plug it into front of house, back of house, this house, that house, your amplifier, 4-cable method, through the front, through the back, on the return, you name it, you can do it. It does just what all the others do, which I think is a good thing, really, because if it didn't, what would separate it out from any of the others anyway? Well, I'm still trying to figure out what separates it. Well, actually, I know what separates it out. Yeah, like I said on the Prime, there's an elephant in the room. That's not my missus over there. Thank God she never sees these. No, it's this. The elephant in the room is that there's no software. Now, I don't mean there isn't much software. I don't mean there is software and it's not so good, like some of the Tonex stuff I saw. No, I mean there's no software. So the complexity of the software, like the fractal audio gear, is completely out of the window. And I have to say, even the Line 6 has got plenty of software. Now, I'm not saying they're all bad or all good or all this or all that, but this hasn't got any. So if you think about this, you've got all these features, all these benefits, but you've got no software. And I thought I'd do a little bit of research on this, just have a look at what other people are saying on the net, so to speak, as you do. And there was a general consensus that, well, I've got this Prime, and I've this, and I've that, and I've the other. I need some software. I need an editor. Different people say, I'm fed up with messing with the knobs and screwing around. I just want some software so I can do it nice and easily. Yeah, which would be a plan, really. If you think about that, it would be a plan, because that's what nearly everybody else has done. More about that in a moment. Well, my guess is you're not going to get an editor anytime soon, because if you were, Headrush would be shouting off the top of the roof, look what we're doing, and they're not. So I don't think that software is a major want for them to make. as they're concerned, this is it. It's so easy, you don't need anything else. And I'm sort of tending to agree with that. It is relatively easy. I wouldn't call it rocket science. I certainly wouldn't call it an Axe FX3. So here we are in start of October 2023, and I'm reviewing the Headrush Core and griping on, some people say that there's no software, thanks very much, and isn't it expensive for 750 quid and all the rest of it? And on comes Fender. Now, you can say it's not related to this. What are you putting Fender in this review for? Well, I am, and it is important that I should. Because when I look at this Fender, it says here it's the first multi-effects guitar workstation that features a luxurious sound quality that the Fender Tone Master amplifiers are known for. Tone Master amplifiers aren't tube amps, are they? I don't think they are. No. I could be wrong. Don't correct me. I'll own up. Anyway, it says here, the Fender Tone Master Tone is now in pedal form with a powerful and user-friendly interface and the most comprehensive I/O array available. Talk about that in a sec. The Tone Master Pro is a fantastic sounding, powerful and easy to use guitar processor. This design provides a one pedal solution for all guitar players. 100 of the world's most popular amps, so effects, which include all the 7-inch touchscreen, sounds familiar. Never been easier and more inspired. The Tone Master is lightweight, huge preset, simple to use interface, and program your footage by setting the exact tones and effects you need. Combine them to create songs, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, there it is. This particular bit of reading was from Anderton's. When I look at this, and I look at that, and by the way, the price of this one is, where is it? £1,649 in the UK from Fender. And this one's about £750. Is it really twice as good? I want to move on now to warranty. Just get that stuff out of the way. Let's bring this over a little bit. Yeah, warranty. I couldn't determine whether this has got 1 year or 2 years warranty from the Headrush website. It said, well, some's got 1 year and some's got 2. I never got to the bottom of that. So as far as I'm concerned now, I'm basing this on a 1 year warranty. If it's got 2, well, whoopee for you. And if it hasn't got 2, well, sadly, it hasn't. However, I did look around the internet. And if you look at Gear for Music, it's down the bottom somewhere. There'll be a link. They'll sell you this unit with a 3-year warranty, a bit like Thomann, but they are in the UK. Well, they're sort of in the UK. Yeah, what more can you ask for? And they can even extend it to 10 years warranty for 60 quid. But that's backed by an insurance policy. And, well, insurance companies, well, think what you will about that. But I think the Gear for Music 3-year warranty could be quite nice. So, final summing up, likes and not likes and all that sort of stuff. I have to be honest with you about this one. I do like the unit. I've played it and it doesn't sound that... It's not as terrible as some people might suggest. The people that are suggesting those sort of things could be, I don't know, some of the guys that are doing the demos on the Fender stuff maybe. I don't know. Or on the Line 6 gear, or take your pick. Whatever equipment you want to compete against this, they could be, well, slacking it off. And I don't do that. What I do, if it's good, it's good, and if it isn't, it isn't. But I have heard it, and yeah, you're going to be hearing it presently too. But the likes are the I/O on the back. I think it's really good. I love the way that the screen actually does work. And when I was on the MX5, I had some terrible troubles with that. The screen basically too small. It was a little 4-inch screen. On this one, there's none of that. It's quite easy to get at all the things you want to get at, and it's not difficult to understand. I love the thing about the flash drive in the back. I think that's a great thing. The Bluetooth, well, I'll pick it up, but everybody's seen the Bluetooth and everybody knows about Bluetooth. I also like the fact that the wireless actually worked first time. It did all its upgrades, everything. Asked me for a couple of things like internet password. The rest was history. Boom, 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 boom. Absolutely great. Yeah. I also like the fact that the board in this and the backboard are probably the same board as the Prime. Yeah, they probably are the same one. In fact, I dare say that screen's the same one too. So all these things, they're adding up into making this device good value. I know it's £750. It's probably about $800 or maybe $850 or maybe $700. Who knows? But it'll be somewhere there. And if you know the answers, put them down in the text so everybody else can find out. Yeah, so robust enough. Got all the good things on it. There's nothing to really knock. Well, almost. Sadly, there is the one thing. No, it's not that elephant. It's this one. Yeah, no software. And if the boys on the internet are to be believed, well, I wouldn't believe them, but I'm just telling you what some say. I've got to have an editor, man. This is going to go if I don't get an editor type of thing. It wouldn't bother me too much, but it is a negative compared to some of the gear. And, you know, you can spend a lot less than this and still have ChopTones, IRs and the rest of it. And no software. In fact, I reviewed a product just the other day. Yeah, you'll see it. It's down in the thing below. There's a link to that as well. Yeah, it's down there. Don't worry about that for now. People will be telling me I'm talking about it too much. So what about a score, Tony? How would you score this product? Well, it's got no software, and that really should be holding it back a bit. But you've got to step back a little bit. And you can see that Fender stuff at £1,650. That's a sort of similar size, and there's a lot of similarities, I guess. I am guessing. Because Fender never sent me one of them things to try on the day of release. How comical. No, they only send it to the boys that speak good about it. They don't analyse it properly and tell you what they see. Yeah, well, that's fine. So I'm going to give this, even without the software, I'm going to give it 10. And you're going to say, this guy's nuts. Well, I'm not nuts, because if you can make something similar for £1,650, which is basically double the price, surely this has got to be worth the 10. Purely on value, hasn't it? Oh, it hasn't got the Fender name on the front. I don't know. You can go figure on that one. But I think personally, I think that for what you pay for this, I mean, it's a heavy device. It's got all the stuff in there, and there's nothing to sniff at on this one, unless you don't like the tones. You're going to hear them in a minute. You can't criticise the product. Oh, it's got rubbish tones. Well, the tones might be rubbish to you, but the guy standing next to you might be saying, well, that sounds fantastic. By the way, I'm not sure I mentioned the manual just while we're in passing. I know it's in a different place in the video, but don't worry. Yeah, this one here, this quick start Headrush CORE quick start guide. It's only a few pages long. If you want the real manual, you've got to go and download it. And I can tell you up front, it's 60 pages long. So it's actually a reasonable manual. It's not too long. Remember the Tone X at 700 pages. Yeah, you're not going to get into anything like that, which says a lot about Tone X. But it also says a lot about Headrush in wanting the product to be simple to use. And I keep coming back to that. Now, you could argue that, well, Fender's the same. Well, you haven't tried a Fender yet, have you? Neither have I. It might not be so easy. It might. Well, I've covered lots in here. I'd like to have covered some software, but there isn't any. I've covered lots in here, though. And I hope you get a really good feel about this device, because it's not as bad as some people might suggest. You know, some people have a dislike of Headrush for some reason. I don't in particular. They are what they are. you know, if it's a good piece of gear, then it's a good piece of gear, isn't it? If it's good enough for you and it's half the price of the one you might have wanted, don't forget to go to www.tonymckenzie.com. Actually, I've dropped the www off these days. It's just tonymckenzie.com, just in case you didn't know. And it's all HTTPS, which is what it's got to be. So you're safe going on there, and there's loads and loads of reviews of stuff that some of it's never been actually on YouTube. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff on there, so you can spend a bit of time. It's getting a fair number of hundreds of views a month. So, you know, I wouldn't say that website was dormant in any way and not relevant, because it is relevant. Now, lastly, if I can get Alan, Bruce or Levi on the video for the audio, then I will. I might just do some guitar by itself so you get a real good idea of the tones, because that's really what you're paying for. It's all right us putting them on backing tracks and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you're buying the tones. So maybe we'll do that. Maybe we won't. We're a bit half soaked here, right? But I hope you've really liked the review. It's cost me a fair bit to make this review of the Headrush Core. I really wanted to make a review of this that's sort of fair and genuine, and it can't be any more fair and genuine than what I've said. Yeah, it might have even got a better score than the Headrush Prime, but I just didn't go back and have a look. Yeah. Anyway, here's the music. Enjoy, or not. Some people say it's out of tune, or tune. Till next time, get out of here. Okay, well, what we're going to do is put a couple of guitars through it, and then play a track at the end or something like that. This one's 09 guitar, black clean 64, and as you can see, I've got a Les Paul that weighs a ton. But don't worry about that. These are just various chords and stuff like that, so you get an idea of the tone. Okay, on the second part we're going to hit the wet rhythm, that's what it says, and go from there. This next one's 13 guitar Plex AC drive, and it's on the lead mode, or lead channel, we'll call it that, for want of a better word. back along to 09 Guitar Black Clean 64. It's got its two cabs on there, I guess one coming out each side and that sort of thing. Okay, this is moving on to 13 Guitar Plex AC drive again, and yeah, what more can I say? It's in the lead bit, and it is what it is, right? But it is straight out the box. Now I do have to say that some of those did sound rather strange through the headphones, but they'll probably come out okay at the end. Yeah, well, you make your own mind up. I'm going to get me my Ibanez, find something decent on there, or set my own up, and I'm just going to play a track. Okay, this one's 14 Guitar Heavy Metal.